Today's about the Refi Monitor. I'm assuming most of you haven't really tried it out much. Maybe some of you have and you're still not quite sure how to use it. But this is a really important piece. For those of you, especially if you've been doing this for, a couple of years, you've got old clients that you've closed and you know you've got good refi potential, and I know how hard it is to sort of track the pricing and see when a good time for refi is. So that's when this system's going to work out perfectly for you. There's a couple things you can do to get files in here, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the important piece, and I apologize, I don't have tons in here. Most of you, once you get this going, will have a lot of your old files in the system. So you'll see I only have a few. What it shows, for those of you that have already started working on some of the other monitor pages, I'm sorry, I might as well show you where this is, just in case anyone's unaware. Up at the top, under Opportunity Monitor, you click on your Refi Monitor. Or if you're in any of your other monitor pages, you just click on Refi Monitor. So we're in here, and you see I've got these 3 deals that are in here under Alerts Triggered. What you see is similar information to what you see on any of the other monitor pages. You see the borrower, you put your mouse over the borrower, and it's going to give you a little bit of information about the deal. This is the deal that you closed with them. It does give you just a snapshot quickly of the state, the product type, the loan amount, and the rate. This is all about what you closed. Over here, it's talking about what the current rate is, so you can start comparing. Now, what you do behind these things is it has a scenario. So I'm going to click on View Scenario for Amanda Hayward. And when you first bring this deal over here, and again, I'll show you the 2 ways you bring them in, it will automatically fill in all these pieces of the scenario to match exactly what your closed scenario was. However, let's assume this was a deal I closed a year ago. You might want a different product from you than the borrower did a year ago. Right now it's a 30. They probably still want a 30. But if it was an ARM, you're probably going to look at a 30. Their FICO may be higher or lower now. Their LTV may be slightly different. Your value is different, so why wouldn't the LTV? Your DTI, your loan amount, you're going to want to make sure you amend all of these pieces to make sure it's an accurate deal. Maybe originally you did a cash out, and now you want to make sure you're doing a rate and term. So go ahead and make all the changes that you need in here. Just like always in all of our monitors, and make sure you put an accurate YSP for the target rate of what you're looking to get. And you can go ahead and save your settings here. Now you'll notice over here it lists this one scenario that I put in, and it also says New Scenario. You can add multiple scenarios. So I'm going to click on New Scenario, and let's put in a new one just so we can show how it does a second one. So you'll just see it blanked out the whole thing. So let's try this one at par. Maybe we want to see a little bit of a difference. God, Lord, I don't even remember what this loan amount was. Let's just do a simple one. We'll try and give them some good FICO. We'll leave it something decent here, and we'll just leave this at a rate and term. That's all I need. That's enough. And I'm going to click Save Settings. And if you give it a second, the second one's going to show up here. Although it's going to say it's a 30-year fix, so you're going to say we have 2 30-year fix. But now you know we've got one at par and one at 1 point back. So clearly the rates are showing very differently based on what I have. Well, that just seems silly, doesn't it, that rate? So when you're back over here, it'll actually start tracking multiple programs, and it'll show you the best rate of any of the programs that you've asked for. Now what you do, just like on the other pages, you see this Global Refi Trigger setting. If you open that up, this is your ability to tell the system when you want to be triggered. So what you've got in here is you're notified anytime one of my fixed deals drops by a point or more. So you see we have this at 5 7/8, and now it's at 5 1/8. So you won't be notified until it drops to 4 7/8 or more than that. So these are the notifiers, and you've got different ones for different products. You also have amount of days. So maybe you want to keep it to 120 because you can't do your refi in within 6 months anyway. So you're just leaving it to that to make it easy on yourself. So these are your global triggers that will affect every one of these. However, you may, it says in here you want to be notified when a 30-year deal drops by a point. But maybe, they want to be notified if it drops by a half a point. You can go in and click on Individual Trigger, and it'll open up another little box, and you'll say, all right, for this particular one, I want to be notified if it hits a half point. But still, 6 months. I'm still not ready to do this thing. And then it will then override the global trigger of a point. And for this particular deal, we're now looking for a half a point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. One person understands. That's good enough. And again, guys, this is just like a lot of the other pages. It gets a little confusing when you're watching me do it. What I always suggest is go put some in yourself and play around with them. Then they make sense. Now, what you can do in here, let's say this is a new borrower that I just closed. Let's see if we can find one here. No, it's an old one. It's an old one. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to look at the dates I closed these things. So maybe you want to say do not monitor because you just did this deal. You just closed it a month or two ago. You're not really ready to monitor for refi potential. So you can click it down there, and it'll show up under your funded loans. And I can click here to show those. It allows you to hide them so it doesn't keep so many things open at the same time. But it'll show up under funded loans, but not alerts triggered because you're not currently trying to monitor them. So see how I moved that one down here to do not monitor? I know that's a little bit confusing. So you can monitor it. You can do not monitor it. And then from up here, you can actually move it back to prospect or float as well. So if you find a deal and you say, this is it, we want to lock this thing, we want to get moving, you can move this thing over and start moving it through your files like you normally do from the beginning. Is that making sense? It's a hard page to explain because there's a lot going on at different times, but it starts to make sense when you do it. Now, the two ways you can get deals over here are obviously moving deals from any of your other pages. So I'm going to go into my lock monitor, and let's see what it looks like when you move a deal over here. So the theory here is, either your lock or your float monitor, whichever one you're using, that hopefully you've now closed your deal. You went ahead and you used this, and now you've closed it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say closed refi over here. And it's going to open up a box, and it's going to ask us a little bit more information. Because, again, we were floating or we'd locked a certain rate, but that isn't always what you closed. So we want you to confirm with us. This is the lender I used. Here's the app date. You can put what you want your follow-up date to be, loan amount, all this information you want to fill out. Don't leave anything blank or else it's a little bit difficult for us to track it on the other end. And then click Save, which I'm not going to do. And once you click Save, it will immediately move over into your refi monitor, and it'll start immediately tracking based on the global triggers, because remember, those hit every single deal. So again, make sure you set your individual trigger if you want something above and beyond the global trigger. Now, just like the other pages, make sure you put your email address up in here, click Save, and that way anytime a rate is triggered, like here's that one we just put in, and remember it's saying that it's at 3.75 for this ridiculous deal that we put in. It fits, and so it turned green because it's triggered below a point of what the closed rate was, and it will email you a trigger notification that says, and it's pretty simple. It just says the borrower's name, I believe it says the product type, and it says the closed rate, and it says the current rate. So you'll get an email that gives you that information, and you can decide if you want to move further into the deal. The other way you can get your deals into here, and this is the most important piece, I think, this is where most of you are going to want to use this, is directly at a point. And these instructions right here will show you. There are instructions. These ones are written. Here's a video you can watch that's very helpful. There's a template that you'll need to use that the video and the instructions refer to, so you'll need to use that. Here's my suggestion when you watch the video. It's not very long and it's not very complicated, but it can be a little bit confusing. So unlike most of our training videos where you usually watch it and then go try to learn how to do it and try it yourself, I suggest you, and I'm even going to show you how you do it. Let's open up the video. That should launch it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pause this as soon as it starts. And I'm going to minimize the screen. I'm sure many of you guys have done this before. Pausing. So I'm going to minimize the screen. This is what I suggest you do. Keep it open in the corner of your screen. Watch the video. Play and pause. As it gives you instructions, go ahead and do it on your desktop. Then go back and listen to the next instruction. Because there's a lot to do. It'll say, open up your point, go to this page, click on this, import this. It'll give you very detailed instructions. So I've found that this is the easiest way to do it. It's just follow the directions along. So that's my personal hint to you. I think it'll really help. And obviously, you can always open up the video if you need to see it bigger. But I think that'll help you get through the video. But once you follow through that video, what it'll basically essentially help you do is export your files out of Point and then import into LoanSifter. A couple things will happen. This little template that you use, what it basically does is it exports all the files out of Point into this template.